The governor of the Southwest region, on special instructions from the head of state, President Paul Biya, has visited victims who survived the bomb attack by Boko Haram on the population of Nsoesie. Mijiyawa Bakari came with words of consolation as well as presidential gifts from the head of state, President Paul Biya. We shall be having details on that. And another Cameroonian dies in New Delhi, India, bringing the total number of Cameroonians to 7 who have died as they are stuck in a lockdown due to COVID-19. Over 100 compatriots are calling on the government to ensure their safe return back to the country. We shall be having more on that. Those are top stories. Good evening and thanks for joining us. You're watching the primetime newscast on STV. The governor of the Far North region has paid a visit to victims who survived the bomb attack by Boko Haram on the population of Nsoesie. Mijiyawa Bakari went with words of consolation and a special gift from the head of state, President Paul Biya. Details in this report.
These are some of the basic necessities that the presidential couple has made available to victims of the October 2 Boko Haram attack in Gwechu, presented to them by the governor of the Far North region, who went down to the site of the incident to see the degree of damage caused, as well as to offer some words of comfort to the affected. We are here to present some messages of condolence and also to wish those injured a swift recovery, while encouraging the vigilante committee, who have always been accompanying the forces of law and order, for them to keep up the support so this enemy can be conquered. The United Nations High Commissioner for Refugee has strongly condemned the attack by Boko Haram on the camp, hosting over 800 internally displaced persons, which left 19 dead and 16 others injured. UNHCR, in a statement, said they will be deploying an emergency mission to assess the situation and evaluate the protection and health needs of those affected, while the U.S. Embassy in Cameroon is worried about the risk of those who rely on humanitarian assistance for survival and condemning what it describes as senseless killings.
46 billion francs CFA has been adopted as the budget of the Douala City Council for the 2020 budgetary year. The amount was voted at a management account session by mayors as well as city councillors. Katrin Kone in the following report tells us that the city council plans to use the money to fight urban disorder, construct roads and promote hygiene and sanitation in the city. Her report.
The 2020 budget for the Douala City Council stands at 46 billion francs CFA, witnessing a drop of 13 billion francs CFA as compared to last year.
We have decided to revise the budget coming from 59 billions to about 46. This is a huge change, and that means that we have to prioritize the project. The new project, the new expenditures.
The amount voted this Wednesday, August 5, 2020, during an extraordinary session of the Council for the amendment and voting of the budget for the year 2020 will be used to execute projects.
And as you have seen, we are going to make all to go further with all projects which concourse to improve the living conditions of the population. That's the main things that coming out from this council. The second one is that we are working hand in hand with the city council, and I'm very satisfied to receive a huge support from the city council for what we are doing now.
The budget was voted by city councillors and the mayors of the 6th subdivision for Wuri division.
The Ministry of Communication has denied reports that it received 8 billion francs CFA for the fight against COVID-19. A statement from the Secretary General of that ministerial department, Felix Zogo, says that the government had only disbursed 100 million francs CFA to the ministry for communication purposes. Nsoesie has been accused by a journalist in Yaoundé of receiving the amount, information which has been animating discussions on the social media in what has been known as the COVID gate in Cameroon. Now, Joachim Chameni has accused the government of stifling opposition political parties and making them weak to face the ruling establishment. The former presidential candidate was guest on the program Hard Talk. Let's listen to him.
The first one is, I would say, some degree of lack of political education from the people that even create political parties. They have a fuzzy understanding of what the role of a political party is. And the second thing is that you also have egotistical figures. You know, a lot of ego, selfishness plays into it. However, I have to say that if those reasons are some of the, play a part, the biggest part is that, in fact, this system has never intended for multipartyism to exist. Political parties are tricked into a playing field that is so uneven and so full of difficulties that every day they are tempted into diverting from their main objective. In other words, when you create a political party, the first thing that you find out, you discover that, oh, even though what led you to do so was the notion that we are in multi-party system and that you could deploy yourself and then present your project to the people and then get them to vote for you, you find very quickly that no, in fact, you are actually criminalized by the government that is supposed to protect your freedom of expression. That is, the moment you say, I am not CPDM, then you start getting everybody against you. You know, you get the SDO, the DO, the commissioner, the army, everybody becomes against you.
But don't you think that is an issue of more or less these parties lacking the mastery on how to play in the field? Because we have over 300 political parties, but yes, very, very few of them are present during elections. Most of them are in the suitcases of those who created them. Don't you think that is more or less a problem?
Oh, I don't think that political party leaders are without fault. But in everything you have to, to
strike a balance.
Yeah, to strike a balance, and then know where the problem really lies. This government never intended.
Now, students of Premier in the French subsystem of education have today begun the written phase of the Prabatwa examination across the country due to the fact that some students of baccalaureate will be rewriting some papers that were suspended by the Ministry of Education. The examination will run until the 11th of August 2020. In Government Bilingual High School New Bell in the city of Douala, 748 candidates registered for the examination and 28 were reported absent. Just like other examinations, emphasis has been laid on the strict respect of COVID-19 barrier measures. A Cameroonian has died in New Delhi, the Indian capital, bringing the total number to 7 who have left their compatriots stuck in a lockdown in India. Ifotso Sokoju was discovered dead, as over 100 Cameroonians are pleading on the government to ensure their safe repatriation back home due to a COVID-19 lockdown declared by Indian authorities. Details with John Paul Sama.
It is a sad day for Cameroonians stuck in India as the lifeless body of Ifotso is removed from his room to a hospital ambulance. The Cameroonian community out there is in a state of shock and consternation as they watch helplessly on the sidelines. If thought so, the deceased, who is said to have been stuck in India for months now as a result of the closure of borders, is the 7th Cameroonian who is said to have died in the Asian country. Out of the over 102 who were unable to return to the country after flying to India for diverse reasons, the 7 persons who have died have gone to the world beyond for diverse reasons, some being stress and the lack of resources to survive in a foreign land. They are, however, waiting and hoping that they still be counted amongst the living when it is time for them to return to Cameroon. It is a sad day for
As authorities put efforts to tackle the coronavirus pandemic, meningitis has also resurfaced in the country. Olive Atangana, a journalist specialized in public health reporting, has revealed that Cameroon has recorded 514 cases with 64 deaths and a 12% fatality rate. Details with Katrin Kone.
According to a report published by Olive Atangana, a journalist specialized in public health and epidemiology issues, since the start of 2020, the country has recorded 514 cases of meningitis, 64 deaths, and 12% lethality rate. In 2019, the disease affected 2,600 Cameroonians and 6% died from it. This is as a result of the fact that Cameroon, crossed by the meningitis belt, is regularly confronted with epidemics of meningitis. She says in 2017, the Yaoundé Central Prison in Kundingi recorded dozen cases of meningitis, the same in the Far North region. She further explains that public health officials in this region had embarked on a strategy in order to prevent another outbreak from occurring in high-risk populations, especially those in prison and refugee camps in the north and east region of Cameroon. Due to the outbreak of the killer disease, a preventive vaccination campaign against meningitis was launched at the Minawao refugee camp on July 28, 2020. The campaign, which will last for 2 months, is expected to target the population in prison, refugee camps and host communities. The goal is to make them immune to this disease. 300,000 people, including 57,613 people in Minawao, age 2 and above, are included in this operation, which is organized in 2 phases. The first, which was in July 2020, in the Far North region and North region, had 1,600 doses of vaccine. The second phase, which is this August, will be in Adamawa and East region. 300,000 doses of vaccines worth 6 billion francs CFA have therefore been made available to the Ministry of Public Health for this vaccination campaign. The campaign will take place in a fixed and temporarily fixed position. It should be noted that meningitis can be caused by different bacteria, including meningococcus. Meningococcal meningitis is fatal in 50% of cases if left untreated.
The price of fish has drastically increased in markets in the economic capital Douala. Traders also lament the scarcity of the commodity. The situation is being blamed on insufficient supplies to the markets. Katrin Kone was at the Douala Central Markets where she monitored the situation and now reports.
I have been selling fresh fish for over 30 years now, but these days I can't even buy to resell. Prices have increased. Fresh fish traders in the littoral region complain on the scarcity and increase in prices in the market of the source of vitamin. According to Madame Biquetel Delphine, a fish trader in the Douala Central Market fresh fish sector, the scarcity and increase in prices is caused by the high waves at sea, which makes it difficult for the fishermen to go out and fish. The scarcity of fish has caused the prices to increase. The high waves at sea makes it difficult for the fishermen to go out and fish. The few fish available is very expensive as the retailers are many. Prices now range from 9,000 francs for the hip of fish, which was usually sold at 6,000 francs, and 5,000 francs for that which was sold at 2,500 francs, she says. When there is fish in abundance, a hip sells at 6,000 francs, but now the hip sells at 9,000 francs. That of 2,500 francs now sells at 5,000 francs due to the scarcity. Despite the scarcity and increase in the prices of fish, clients like hotel and restaurant operators still come by. Our clients for now are mostly hotel and restaurant operators. We have very few household consumers who come by because of the price increase. They, however, wait for the prices to drop. For the household consumers, they await the drop in prices of this important source of vitamin and resort to alternatives like beef and pork.
Out of the country, U.S. lawmakers on Tuesday had tough questions for the U.S. Special Representative for Venezuela, asking why the Trump administration has not yet asking why the Trump administration has not done more to stop Russia, China, Iran, as well as Cuba from propping up Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. Under Maduro, it is said that more than 5 million Venezuelans have fled their homes due to rights abuses. Details with the VOA.
With Caracas residents lining up to register to vote, President Nicolas Maduro is moving ahead to hold legislative elections in December, despite questions about his authority and concerns over the raging coronavirus pandemic. Meanwhile, in Washington, the Senate Foreign Relations Committee held a hearing on Maduro's ongoing hold on power amid a deteriorating humanitarian situation. U.S. Special Representative Elliott Abrams condemned the election plans.
Maduro's recent hijacking of the National Electoral Council and of the major democratic political parties foreshadow how the regime plans to take control of the National Assembly through fraudulent elections in December.
In 2019, the U.S. and more than 50 other countries recognized opposition leader Juan Guaido as Venezuela's legitimate interim president and have called on Maduro to relinquish power. But Maduro has the support of China, Russia, Cuba, and Iran. Democratic Senator Chris Murphy told Abrams it is time to admit that U.S. policy towards Venezuela has been, in his words, an unmitigated disaster.
We have to admit that our big play, recognizing Guaido right out of the gate and then moving quickly to implement sanctions, just didn't work. It didn't. All it did was harden Russia and Cuba's play in Venezuela and allow Maduro to paint Guaido as an American patsy. And a lot of us warned that this might happen.
Republican Senator Mitt Romney expressed frustration over the role of Russia and China in Venezuela, prompting this exchange with Abrams.
Are we so incapable of use of soft power to get two nations which you suggest don't have a great commitment to Maduro to back away?
Well, it hasn't worked so far. I think from the point of view of Putin, you know, this is a kind of freebie in the sense that it isn't costing him any money now.
With millions of Venezuelans having fled their country, another senator criticized the Trump administration for not doing enough to help them.
Yet while other countries are generously hosting millions of Venezuelans, the Trump administration has ignored my repeated requests to grant temporary protected status to some 200,000 Venezuelans in the United States. It has turned away Venezuelan asylum seekers at our southern border, and that is absolutely unacceptable.
Venezuela's economic collapse caused by Maduro's socialist policies has created one of the worst humanitarian.
In sports, Cameroon international Tanto Mervis, who plays for our football club in the country, is calling for the improvement of female football in the country. Speaking to John Paul Sama on the program La Presse refait l'hommage, she appreciates the organization of the Female Football League in the country.
This particular year, I think it was much more better. We had a fluent league. We didn't have stoppages like previous years. And I think if we ameliorate more on we look more on the female financial issues, I think it will be very good for us, because talking about organization and everything, I think it was really, really better this year. I would say yes, at a time, at another place I would say it has always been so. And our prayer as female is not an equality, but we are praying for something a little bit, as in let our level be a little bit higher. Like they should consider us a little bit more, because if we check out the percentage we have been taking is very, very low, and it's not easy. But all we are asking for is if they can elevate us a little bit, it will be a great, great one for us, seriously. I earlier talked about financial issues. And the thing is, it's not only coming from the clubs, it's also coming from the board. So they do promise, and at the end they do have issues of delivery. And I think if those things were followed, and with the management I saw last year, I think women's football will be a really great one in Cameroon.
Does it for this edition of the Primetime Newscast on STV. Thank you very much for watching. More news comes up in the French language at 8 p.m. Good night.